Okay, thank you. Right, thank you for joining us for the last of our communication, community conversations, a series of webinars which have been organised by the Chitterslow Committee of Llangollen Town Council. Just in case you've not heard of Chitterslow, Llangollen was awarded Chitterslow status in 2013, thanks to a coordinated effort on the part of residents and councillors at the time. We are part of a network of 200 Chitterslow towns around the globe, and this recognition recognises the town's commitment to economic, social, environmental sustainability. We kind of feel, the Chitterslow Committee, that Llangollen has, as a Chitterslow town, it's really easy for us because the aims of Chitterslow are in Llangollen's DNA. We don't have to work at it because the town does it itself. Where other towns have to kind of work towards it, everything about Llangollen on a daily basis is kind of following the Chitterslow philosophy, so that's great. Each webinar covers a theme, and this one is about community. So we've got 3 speakers, and each speaker is going to talk for 10 minutes, and then we'll have a question and answer session afterwards. I'll kind of try and keep you to time. I've got my stopwatch here. I'll try and keep you to time. Last time I did this, I wasn't very good at doing that, but yeah, we'll see how it goes this time. So to start us off, I'd like to introduce Graham Kendall, who's going to talk to us about Denbighshire Citizens Advice. So over to you, Graham.
Thank you. Gareth, have you got my presentation?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it now.
Can you share it? Or all right, if not, film which I can.
Sorry, I can't. Too many things open. Just bear with me. I'll have to close things down to find it. Sorry. Right, I'll try again. No, sorry.
Full screen.
Why won't it let me share?
Can I share? I can share it myself if you want.
Yeah, if you've got it, you can share it. Oh, hang on.
Let's see if I can open the share tray.
I think I've got it, yeah.
Is it letting me share?
Yes, it should let you share.
Yes, it will let me share. Okay, I'll do it.
Okay. Good.
Am I sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Chair. I'm not actually just going to talk about Citizens Advice. I'm going to talk about the Llangollen service, and that's a partnership that we have. I know Margaret's going to speak shortly as well, but it's a partnership that we have with South Denbighshire Community Partnership. And effectively what happened, I think, going back to 2017, I think, Margaret, we had a conversation around applying for some big lottery funding, and that originated in Corwin because I was concerned about the level of community and level of advice in Corwin, and Margaret shared my concerns, and that's as much as I'm going to say about Corwin. But the point about that was that having about 2 years in, we had conversations about expanding delivery into Llangollen, because although the communities are very, very different, there were, in our view, still things that we could achieve very much in the Llangollen and Dee Valley area. So effectively what happened was we had a project started in Corwin in 2018 that ran. It was 2 years in. Then we applied for lottery funding, or probably about 18 months in we applied for lottery funding. I think from memory, the Llangollen Dee Valley should have started a little later than July 2020, but was brought forward because of the impact of COVID. And so we started a little early. And the objectives of the project are, as they were on the previous project and still are on the previous project, which still exists, to tackle rural isolation, rural poverty, and poor access to services. And it was felt that the way to approach that was by having a very much a community-facing organisation alongside an advice service, because the achievements that we've managed to do collectively have been considerably greater than they would have been had we operated independently of each other to deliver that service. So that's the background, if you like. Looking at Llangollen 18 months in, we've got lots of stakeholder engagement. Most of this I will detail, some of which Margaret will pick up on. But effectively from the local authority, Derbyshire County Council, obviously the Town Council, which isn't on the list, but Derbyshire County Council working specifically working together for the future of Pengwern, but Margaret will talk about that, but also otherwise in quite a few respects. Friends of Pengwern, the food share, which I'll come on to, the dial-a-ride service, Hwb Pentradur, the Rafa Club, which I think is we're looking at the venue for lunches, Drosi Bikes, Group Cynefin, and Mentor Iaith. And they're just a cross-section of people that have been engaged with. In terms of activity that's happened since we started in Llangollen, the headlines are here, but there's a little bit more detail to this, which, given that I've got 10 minutes, I'll go into quite a little more detail on. The food share, for example, I'll leave Margaret, as I say, to talk about the Pengwern situation. She's much closer to it than I am. As it says there, 55 sessions, and this is between July and December 21. 55 food bank sessions, 184 home deliveries, 471 individuals and 70 families have accessed food share support. And in total, there's been the use of 878 volunteer hours delivering that service in the town. So aside from the benefit to the community, there's a considerable community benefit from the volunteering itself, and what those volunteers contribute to that and to each other from that volunteering service. The dial-a-ride, we've got 415 journeys and a total of 1,577 community miles. Now I've got a table here I could bore you with, but effectively 2 vehicles doing a variety of journeys, being local dial-a-ride to specific community excursions, which come up to that figure. And plea also from South Derbyshire Community Partnership, they are desperate for drivers and volunteer drivers, and this is in Llangollen as well as in Corwin, for drivers for the service generally, but for the dial-a-ride service in Llangollen specifically, any volunteer drivers, please put yourselves forward. Looking at school holiday provision, I can find my notes, 1 second. We've got school holiday provision, summer 21, 11 play and support sessions and 231 snack lunches provided during that session. Effectively, you know, the service that provides, that's about summer holiday relief, particularly invaluable at times where people are struggling because their children are fed and they're in a safe environment to play, reduces family stress, and assists families to get through, you know, a challenging period, a challenging summer period. Meals on Wheels, we've got the Meals on Wheels service, which is now in Llangollen as well as part of the project. So far, it's relatively new. We've got 41 meals delivered on that project, but that's a burgeoning one and will grow. There's another 2.5 years to run on this project. And the wider community engagement aspect of this, 66 events with 1,266 individuals. That's across the Dee Valley area, if you like, from Corwin across to Llan. 407 children provided with Christmas gift bags, 97 family cooking packs, 97 family art packs, 23 family activity packs. I'd add to that we have run since lockdown 2 slow cooker campaigns, which have involved recipe development and delivery of food and recipes and slow cookers to households. And we've been engaged with that collectively across the area. You know, many of us have wrecked our cars driving up forest tracks with slow cookers. Mine in particular, because mine's about 4-inch ground clearance, and it's never been the same again since I delivered in the forest above Corwin. But effectively what I'm getting at, there's a lot of partnership work on this, and we work together to support our community. Looking specifically at the advice outcomes for 18 months, as I say, the project started in Llan on the 1st of July 2020. These are the figures for that first 18 months. And we've got a total of 243 residents have been advised. These are Llangollen residents, not Corwin residents. £636,000 in annualised benefit gains to 114 of those people. And debt support, £380,000 of debt support to another 39 of those people. The other advice issues will be various. We've delivered 16 households out of income poverty and 8 households out of fuel poverty. Now, that's up to last Christmas. I'm fairly certain that if we were to look at those fuel poverty figures in 6 months' time, we'd see a significant improvement on that, simply because the number of households that will be falling into fuel poverty as a result of various world events, or various events, including world events over the last 3 years, will be significant. We are already seeing a lot of households who we wouldn't normally expect to see. We're increasingly dealing with working households, and we're dealing with a lot. We did some work today with Denbighshire County Council as part of the Winter Fuel Support Scheme, and probably a third of the people they're referring to as are people we haven't seen before, who are now needing crisis help for energy. So I think I'd end this meeting by saying, watch out for our posts, watch out for our contact particulars, and please get in touch if you need any support at all. Okay, so that's it from me. I know now's not the time for questions, but I'll take any happily at the end of this. Thank you.
That's great, Graham. Thank you very much. I apologise because I disappeared. I'm now talking to you on an iPad rather than my computer.
You're there in spirit, Chair.
My Wi-Fi disappeared. That's great, Graham. Thank you very much. So next in line, we've got Margaret Sutherland, who is going to talk to us about the Penguin Community Project. Very close to my heart, as I'm currently the chair of Penguin Community Association. So that's well, Friends of Penguin.
I'll stop sharing. Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, brilliant. So I'll pass you on to Margaret, and she can tell us what's happening at the minute and about the exciting future that Penguin's got. Over to you, Margaret.
Thank you very much. That's great. I'll just wait for Gareth to bring up my PowerPoint, which I hopefully have made very accessible for anybody who's not able to join us this evening, but may have some questions about it later.
It's not my noise in the background, but I'll mute anyway. I'm here on my lonesome.
Sorry, I have a children's drama and theatre group in the room behind me.
There's not a lot we can do about that. Don't worry about it.
No, Becky's daughter's in there, and I'm sure it's her making all the noise, Becky.
You're sitting in the community association, the community building at the moment, are you?
I am, yes. I'm in Canalvin in Corwin. Yes, we have a theatre group on. If they break into song, it will provide a nice background accompaniment for us.
Excellent.
Yeah. Right. So here we go. That's lovely. Thank you, Gareth. Can you see that? It's gone off my screen again.
No, we can just see ourselves, Gareth, if you're sharing the wrong
Right.
screen.
There we go. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you. Right. So Gareth and I will try and coordinate ourselves. So Gareth has control, so he'll move us on. So the project that Graham referred to earlier, which is the working together from for Penguin, for the future Penguin. What's the project about? Okay, so this 2-year project will see the development of the existing Penguin Community Centre, both in physical size and the services and activities it provides, be considerably expanded. So for those of you who are familiar with it or not familiar with it, on the right of that screen, you can see a picture of the existing community centre, which also has some decking outside, which gives us a bit more space to work from. The proposal under this project is that we're going to site a new unit behind the existing unit, and that will be a private meeting space for citizens advice, housing, work in Denbighshire. We also provide one-to-one counselling and so on. So it will consider, well, there isn't that facility at the moment. To do that at the moment means you can only have the centre open to one person at a time. So that will be a great improvement. And then on the left, you can see there's currently 4 garages there on the opposite side. They are going to be demolished and they're going to be replaced with a basically a unit and a storage unit that will fill the space of those 4 garages. Okay, now this is to give you an idea. Obviously it's not easy to make a pretty picture of it, but as I said, behind the person in a green jumper, you can just kind of see a darker building. That's where the new unit will sit. And then there is a smaller person who may or may not be a child on the left there, running between 2 trees. So that will be the new, do you like my descriptions, Graham? That will be the new unit. That is going to be a multi-purpose unit. Currently, there are 3 large planters, which you can see on the left of the picture, situated behind the existing centre. So they are actually going to be lifted and moved to the front so that we don't lose that facility as well, so that, you know, community growing and garden projects and things can continue. So that's what we're aiming for in physical terms. Thank you, Gareth. Okay, so when we talk to people say to me, well, what is it, where is it, who's paying for it, yeah, as opposed to funding talk. So I've put this very much as if somebody was asking me the questions. So where is the funding coming from for the project? Denbighshire County Council Housing Department are providing more than half of the cost, and the rest is coming from the National Lottery Rural Futures Fund. I'm sure this group has heard over, you know, the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of work done with 7Y about the Rural Futures project. And this project now is seeing some of that work come to fruition, as well as developments over at the Pentrador Centre. Okay. So when will we have all these amazing new spaces then? At the moment, planning, it's going through planning consent. We anticipate, and I have to say anticipate, because all kinds of things come up sometimes that you weren't expecting along the way. But we anticipate at the moment that if we get planning permission in March, it takes 10 weeks for those units to be built and delivered. The order will be placed immediately, planning consent is received, and then groundworks will start about 3 or 4 weeks before we know the delivery date. So this is putting in the additional electricity, water, drains and so on that we need, demolishing the garages. Okay, we are anticipating that we should be able to have the new unit, and Shem should be there cutting the ribbon sometime in summer 2023. So we're all working very hard to achieve that. It's just sometimes you come up against obstacles. They're being shipped from overseas and documents for customs and things like that, but we are doing everything we can to get this into the community as soon as we can. Thanks, Gareth. Okay. So whilst we've been delayed, we started the project in April. Whilst we've been delayed with the building side of it, we have still done some things. I'm sorry, Gareth, did it nip on 2 then? I think it may have nipped on 2 slides. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So what we have done so far is, it was very much felt that in the past, the existing Penguin Community Centre has always been managed and self-run by volunteers, and they've achieved a great deal doing that. But that is difficult. It needs, we feel, an appointed community coordinator to try to get things off the ground, build the networks, the groups, the volunteers and so on, to turn it into a thriving, well-used community centre. So part of this project funds a community coordinator to do that. Graham gave you some of the headlines of some of the events and activities that have been going on at the community centre, and there is now a regular programme of activities within the existing building, and we've been doing a lot down at the park at Christmas and in the school holidays. Okay. Following the consultation, we finalised the design of the building so that we knew what we were putting planning permission in for. Conversations have been had with the residents. When we saw the picture earlier, the garage is actually back on to somebody else's property and share a common fence and so on. So obviously the needs of those residents who are immediately impacted on has been taken into consideration, and conversations have been had to ensure that the solutions that we're coming up with enable them to maintain their privacy and so on. And as I say, planning consent's been submitted, bat surveys have been carried out and so on. So whilst nothing physical appears to have happened very much in terms of the build, lots of things are going on. Thank you, Gareth. Okay. We did consultation, and some of you watching this may well have been involved in that consultation. We actually received over 500 responses on a Llangollen-wide consultation, because this community centre is a Llangollen community centre, not just for the Penguin estate. Yeah, and Denbighshire County Council are very keen to make sure that message gets out. Okay, so these in order are the things that people said they felt they needed more of what they already had, or additional to what they already had. And overwhelmingly, it was around advice and support services. So that office space, that confidential private space, is going to give us the space to do that. Health and wellbeing activities, and resoundingly, things for children in school holidays and after school was a very, very key message that we kept hearing from people. So the new building and the new timetable of activities will reflect those 7 key areas. Thank you, Gareth. Okay, we wanted to make this consultation as wide and as deep as we could, and we wanted the children to get involved as well, because they'll be the ones that will grow up with that centre and hopefully, you know, will ensure its future and its continues to be vibrant. So to make sure that they had their voices heard, we gave them a little postcard with the picture on the front that I showed you earlier, and then we asked them to either draw a picture or, you know, write what they felt they would like from that community centre. And again, overwhelmingly, it was all about places to meet up after school, in school holidays and so on. I won't read through the list here, but this is just to give you an idea of what people were saying to us and the factors that we took into consideration when agreeing the final design and you know, what we'll start off with in the new buildings. I say start off with because this is about community ownership. It's a community centre for the community, and hopefully as more and more people get involved, they will start to decide what, if their needs change, then those activities and services can change to reflect that need. So that's just an idea of some of the headlines, and you'll be able to read that later. Okay, this is the community coordinator, Hailwyn. Many of you may know her. She lives on the Penguin estate and has done. She actually lives at the back of the community centre. She's in the centre on Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays between 9 and 4:30. So if you want to know more or have a look into the sort of consultation results or anything like that, you can always pop in and see her. Okay, you can also follow what's going on with the build and the development and activities by following the Facebook page. There's an email address there that you can contact her. And I've also put on there, there is a committee which Shem referenced earlier, of which he is the chair, and that's a residents association called the Friends of Penguin. And that's a group of people who are, if you like, a steering committee, yeah, and work very, very closely with Denbighshire County Council to ensure that the community centre is meeting the needs of the local people. Okay, thank you, Gareth. So there's contact information there if you would like it. And then finally, Graham mentioned earlier about we always need volunteers, but I would like to encourage everybody to get involved. It's a community asset for the whole of Llangollen. Yeah, you can, sorry, that's popped up in front of mine. There we go. You can use the facilities. Now there's already things going on. I think Becky's going to talk to us about some of the nature for health activities, but there are activities in the centre and starting from the centre but going up into the woods and so on. There's a monthly calendar to let you know what's on, so that's available on Pentrador Hub's Facebook page. Keep your eyes open for ad hoc activities. You might look at the calendar and think there isn't something there for you, but we often put on additional activities. For example, school holiday events, cooking demonstrations. We are going to have a pamper day very soon. Yeah, so if you fancy an Indian head massage or a nice hand massage, or a bit of aromatherapy, keep your eye open for that. Spaces will be limited, book early to avoid disappointment. Yeah. And then finally, again, we mentioned this is about the people. A community centre is only a building. It's the people that make it a community centre. Okay. And I would actively encourage you. We are working very closely at the moment, SDCP and Friends of Penguin and the council. But we can't do it all. Yeah. It's about the community getting engaged. If you're interested in finding out more about the Residents Association and the Friends of Penguin, or even, becoming a volunteer driver, the contact details are on that presentation, or pop into Penguin. Okay. And then finally, just to say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to come along this evening and share what's going on at Penguin Community Centre. Thank you.
You're muted, Jack.
Sorry, you're muted, Chem.
Muted.
I muted myself because the dog was bothering me. So thank you for that, Margaret. Absolutely brilliant. I was just saying that I've got lots of questions now, because the last half hour has been like a light bulb moment for me. I'll explain why in a bit. But I'm going to pass over now to Becky Roberts, who's going to talk to us about Nature for Health. Thanks, Becky.
All right, evening. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate having this slot. So I'm quite new to this role. I started in September, but the programme Nature for Health was launched in 2018, and is a collaborative project between Denbighshire Housing and the AUMB. It obviously engages with communities to promote the role and access to nature that it can play in improving our health and well-being. The slides you're sharing are not really relevant to what I'm saying, so it's fine. I'll carry on if that's okay. So healthcare professionals and other organisations can refer into the service through social prescribing, pathways, self-referral, or just turning up to the sessions. The programme welcomes people of all abilities to get involved with conservation and healthy outdoor lifestyle activities. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, fab. So previous to this role, I was delivering exercise referral in the gyms for the past 13 years. So I'm very aware that people who may be accessing our service may have limited abilities. So I'm very passionate about, even if they just turn up to watch the session or sit down and listen to the birds, and that to me is, we've made a difference because they've come out of the house, and that walk from the car to the centre or to the place is more activity they would have done than staying at home. And then obviously once you engage in them people, and then they start to talk to you, build rapport, they then become a bit more confident in themselves, stronger, and then say, okay, maybe I can try that, maybe, oh, that looks easy, or so my aim is to try and get everybody involved with all the activities that we run. So you're all very aware of physical activity combined with access to the green space is recommended a non-pharmaceutical, you know what I mean, way of to aid recovery from illness, and it's free and it's on our doorstep, isn't it? Especially where we live. I walk into Plas Newydd every day, and and like breathe, take a breath and think, wow, this is now my office. And that is like special to me. Having worked in the gym for, well, 17 years, to now walk into Plas Newydd, it's amazing. So where are we? We have been encouraging people to notice 3 good things. I don't know if you've heard of this, but we've installed some recline observation chairs in Plas Newydd, where you can sit back and look at the canopy. It's down in the Dell. It's a work in progress, but the aim is to then sit down, take a minute, listen to what's there, look up, because sometimes we miss that. We tend to, do activity where we, I don't know, walk the hills, and we don't often look at what we're doing. We don't appreciate the smells. We don't listen to the birds. So it's just having that time, and we're trying to promote it in our Facebook posts and social media thing to say, just stop, listen, and take note of what's going on around us. Especially with COVID and all, I think a lot of people work from home. We're sat inside quite a lot of the day, aren't we? And to try and encourage that just small outdoor 5-minute time where you just listen and smell and, be a bit grateful for what we've got outside. What else have I got written down? So the activities that we are running, there's various activities on offer to promote community cohesion and teach traditional skills such as willow weaving. We've done some scything and hedge laying. And I've never done scything before. And from a fitness point of view and a rehab point of view, I find it fascinating in that we have equilibrium around us. And if you go over your equilibrium, you fall. So it's your centre of balance, isn't it? And when you scythe, you're obviously outside of your equilibrium, and you work quite a bit on that. And my alarm bells are thinking, well, this might be a way of preventing falls, because, traditional skills, people over the years will have done manual stuff, and that will have been their main way of cutting the grass. Maybe that's something that we're missing, in that could be a way of preventing falls. I don't know, that's something I'd like to look into. Yeah, interesting for me, that was. Also, we've done lots of willow weaving. I don't know if you may have seen, we've done quite a bit of work at the park in Penguin. There are some apple trees, a bit of an orchard at the back. We've put some willow tree guards up, and also along the old railway line near Wenfrud. We wanted to try and obviously reduce plastic, encourage more biodiverse resources that'll then degrade as the tree grows, so then they're not needed. Also trying to reduce the need for I'm learning all these words because I'm used to the gym. Using your strimmer, the plastic off the strimmer, and it hitting the guards and that kind of thing. So thinking of things in a better way, and also putting our stamp as Nature for Health on the areas that we're working within. So if you see the tree guards, and I think you have some pictures, hopefully, of them, and you'll now know that that's us. So we've been working closely with Canolfan Ni and Penguin. We've delivered a few Halloween events with the children. I took that on in October, which was very fun. I've got 3 girls of my own, so I'm very used to being a bit creative and getting a bit hands-on with some natural things. We made wands, we did, out of natural things, which was fabulous. And we made a potion. I got lots of berries and I got lots of leaves, and it was good fun. Also working closely with Llangollen Surgery to generate some referrals from the surgery into the scheme, and also Denbighshire Housing. We recently had an event in Clouth-Ponkin, but we have a few which are coming up in Penguin. I'm currently developing links with the primary school, the eco schools that they're doing, and also active travel. It's the active travel week or month coming up, isn't it, soon? So trying to get some children out walking, cycling to school safely. And a big thing for me in Plasnowith is to try and get that bowling green used, because I've already been in to see all the gentlemen, smiled nicely and said, can we use it in the day? And they agreed, yes. So we've already had a friendly game on there already. And my aim this year is to try and get that used as much as possible for everybody, because I think it's a really good space, a really good social activity that people can do outside. And yeah, so that's my plan. We also have a seed swap event happening on the 20th of March, where I'll be working with the gardener, Lizette. So that's a event for local people, and also doing some willow weaving sessions to teach people how to make their own plant supports. So for our future, where I see this project going, hopefully, is making as much positive impact as we can on the community, getting to know what the residents, would like to see more of, and letting people know what we're actually doing is the key, I think. What else? So I said, oh yeah, we bring the events to their doorstep. So we're trying to go into the communities to get some engagement from the communities. If they see us more, hopefully they'll then come out and think, what you're doing, what you're doing this for, and because I think that's quite important. I'm trying to encourage people to take some pride in their green spaces, obviously improving biodiversity and conservation. I went to Llagadog in Corran today. I know this is a Llangollen, but I went and found the gentleman who does a bit of work in the garden, and he took me on a walk around, and he said all the people in there, they just wave at me. Nobody comes out. So my aim by the summer is to try and get one or two of those people on a chair outside their door, just talking to me. That is my goal. So I just want to take small steps, me and Ant, who's my work colleague, just to get people outside, immersed a bit more in, their natural green space, and getting a bit more community spirit back, because I think COVID has really knocked lots of people and their confidence. And because I'm so passionate about health and well-being, my aim is to get them out and doing a bit more. I don't know if you have my slides, maybe you do. I just want to show you some pictures of what we've been doing. But yeah, so these are just some pictures from our December events and what we've actually been doing. So we've done willow weave in December. We did some gardening sessions. One's in Plasnowith, one's in Corran. We made wreaths at Christmas. I think I did four specific sessions at Christmas using all natural products. I'd never used willow before myself to make a wreath, but we made it all with natural things. So obviously it's biodegradable at the end. And there in the left-hand corner is our tree guards, which you may see around now that you've seen one of them. Could you do the next one? That's all right. This was in, what month was this? Just go up a little bit or down? February. Again, we did willow weaving, and as you can see, all top 3 pictures are willow weavers, and it's quite a good event that we found people come out to. We've placed some natural tree guards in Wenfrud, and then there was an event, I think it was last weekend, where volunteers came out and planted trees along the new cycle track, isn't it, along the old railway line. We planted all the trees along the line of the park. I don't know if anybody's seen that. We've done a new hedge, which I think looks really good, to be honest. And then we've been doing some coppicing as well. This is in Corran along the old railway line. Next one. And then this is March. This was what we did in the Wellbeing event in Corran. We've not been invited yet to the Wellbeing event in Llangollen, hint, hint. But we had lots of positive feedback from the wreath making session. Again, with willow, all local, flowers. And then yesterday for International Women's Day, I sorted out the bikes to come and hopefully empower. We got one lady, yes, who had her bike fixed, and I saw her today and said, have you been on it yet? And she said no, but her plan is now to get back on that bike. So that was my reasoning behind that one. We're doing bench building at the end of the month. There's our timetable. It's a bit small, but that's just go up a little bit, because on this, that's the one. On there, I've actually put bench building. We're removing beech trees. We've got some tree planting in Wenfrood and more coppicing along the old railway line. So they're events that are happening this month. And that's a whole timetable of what's happening. Oh, lovely. Look at that. It's a bit bigger. So that's the Nature for Health scheme. At the minute, most of our events are on the AONB Facebook page, but we're trying to get the link to the AONB website. That's a work in progress, because I think not everybody's on Facebook, and I'm very aware of that. We do have an Eventbrite page, which is not on Facebook, it's separate. And we are under Nature for Health. So I am trying to put all our events on there as well. So if you haven't got access to Facebook, then that is another way of seeing what we're doing. But yeah, hope that is okay. Fabulous. And thank you for inviting me. I'll turn mine off. I think you're still on mute.
Still on mute, Chem.
Yeah, so I'm trying to explain why I'm on mute and I'm still on mute. Yeah.
You're okay.
It just, thank you so much for doing this for us. It's been a light bulb moment for me. It really, really has. I think Graham kind of started to turn the switch on the light to really bright. In that the partnership work, yeah, and the fact that everybody is kind of working together and linking, and this joined up thinking and the networks and stuff. Because I mean, I know Citizens Advice, and I know that DVSC, but I didn't realise that they were so kind of linked together and working together. So that really has been, and I guess that would be something that I'd say needs kind of promoting, that the thinking that's going on around is really, really joined up. Lots of mention of the importance of the community, and kind of helping and supporting and all of those. Just coming more specifically, first of all, I do have to say that Becky, you're really, really brave. Yeah, because anybody who is willing to hand me a scythe, to help me with my balance. There's
a seventh femoral artery at some point.
So totally. Just a couple of questions for Graham. Really, I'm really sorry I missed the beginning. I had to swap my computers over because one stopped working. But one assumes that given the present cost of living thing with food and fuel and that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was wondering what capacity you've got to kind of work with that.
The short answer to that is there isn't enough capacity in advice services, full stop, to meet current demand. Citizens Advice, and this is before the Ukraine crisis and the impact on fuel. Citizens Advice did some presentations around energy probably about 4 weeks ago, something like that, with the crisis as was then. And our advice telephone numbers were fielding an advice inquiry every 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's nationally. And with everything else on top of that, there's not tons of spare capacity, to say the least. So, as I said, what we've done with Denbighshire, when Welsh Government announced the Winter Fuel Support Scheme, which was going out to obviously qualifying people within Denbighshire, and there was a sign-up service to that. They added a question to their sign-up online saying, "Would you like advice on top of it?" And we basically, as I said during the presentation, we got about 70 of the first 200 that came through on that. 70 were brand new people, so they're if you like potentially our focus. We're still looking at the data and looking at what we've advised the other people on, but the people who are new to us are the people we'll probably contact first, because if they aren't thinking of getting engaged up to that point and they are now, then there may be something that we can do quite quickly for those people. But it's not just about capacity. Capacity is difficult enough. We've also got to engage outwards on these people. We can't just wait for people to come to us. And anybody who's been looking at Facebook will see the stuff we've been posting around. We were posting on the WFSS, telling people about the deadline. The deadline was the end of February. There'll be more support coming. We've still got prepayment meter vouchers. We can help some. I got something across my desk today to say I was applying for prepayment, maybe now looking at issuing vouchers for credit meters as well. So there's emergency support we can give. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we've only got so much capacity. Thankfully, we deliver across a number of channels. That gives us more chance. If people can't get hold of us on the phone, we've got video platforms. We put those out, links out to those. I can refresh all these links. Email us, and just email advice@dcab.co.uk. At least you'll get picked up and get contacted on that email if you can't get through on the phone. It has been. Sorry.
Well, assumes that the partnership working we've just been talking about, there's that kind of people working together and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm guessing is supportive in terms of expanding the capacity of all the parts.
Yeah.
Because
it expands capacity. It also, as I mentioned, the slow cooker stuff we did last year. We started doing that post lockdown. We were doing something similar before. We were doing events involving slow cookers, energy related events, but then we couldn't do those because lockdown stopped us. So we just started. What we did was Sarah from the Carog did the videos. We videoed the recipes. We shipped the slow cookers. We shipped the food out to people, as I said. But the apart from the obvious largesse and the cost of that, the purpose in that was to engage with the people. It's not just to give them the free product. It's to engage and invite people to speak to us, because part of that process was, yes, okay, we'll deliver this to you, but we do want to speak to you as well. What the discussion needs. So it's about it's teaming up with people to access the right people who need the right support.
Is there a common problem? Is there a problem that that
if you ask,
are people phoning you about?
They're right. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said it was lots of the universal credit uplift. Now it's very much energy. It's very much how can I meet my current daily living costs? What can you do? And thankfully, we've had quite a lot of emergency support from various sources. We've had things from DVSC, we've had money from the local authority, Welsh Government sourced possibly through as well, local authority money as well as Welsh Government money through the local authority for emergency provision, along with the likes of the Energy Redress Fund, which is effectively the company that puts the fines on the energy companies. We've got projects supported, funded from them. So we've got the emergency support. What we don't have an answer to is the longer term cost of living problem, because we can keep putting the sticking plaster on, but we're not solving the problem. The problem needs to be solved in a much more sustainable way.
But on a day-to-day basis, you're responding to today rather than
we're responding, reacting. We can't. I mean, we're in the middle of planning we've got funding for a veterans project, so it's for veterans. But the learning we'll do with that, and the development stuff we'll do with that will serve other projects. And that is very much this week's job. Is very much looking at what more we can do in terms of our energy offer. Because at one point, and this is me talking on the hoof, really, I'm not an advisor, but I have done energy sessions in the past. You'd have been saying to people, switch your supplier. Right now, I couldn't tell you what the market looks like. Until April, we won't even know what the market looks like. So in terms of advising people to switch, you're thinking, not so sure. Bit of homework required first. So it's very, very, very difficult. And a lot of people are tied into suppliers now they didn't want. And I include colleagues amongst that who are tied into suppliers who they left and have found themselves by default backward because that's what the market contracted. And it's and that, as I say, all that before we have record gas and record oil prices because of a war.
Margaret, you've got your hand up.
You're still on mute, Margaret.
Thank you. I'm sure, I know this must have been explored many times, and I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons why it hasn't been done in the past. But I just wonder if now, with the background that Graham's just outlined for us, that harnessing some of that energy off the River Dee down there at Llangollen, for a local co-op. I don't know if you're aware, but we have one in Corwin already, and we'll be having a second one at Bonham in July. 8 households who were the pilot for it in Corwin have saved £3,000 in electricity costs in the first year. Yeah. So sometimes when you look at something, you go, it's not viable, it's not cost effective. I'm not sure that would fall into Chitterslow's remit, but I just wonder whether Chitterslow could direct a conversation.
Currently, one of our councillors, Councillor Davis, is looking into exactly what you just described.
Right.
Yeah. Harnessing the power and looking for the funding to sort of make it happen. So it's in our minds. Whether it'll end up a short-term or a longer-term plan, I don't know. I'm guessing.
From memory, there was an issue on citing. We've been considered previously, and there was an issue about citing and objections, but I can't recall the detail.
So we'll try our best. I'm guessing. I'm guessing. My question is for next question's for all of you, because you've all touched on it, and that's to do with communication. Because you've all talked about Facebook and the internet and email, etc., etc. But I, having been involved in the support network for people who were in need during COVID, I became very, very aware that a lot of the most vulnerable and the people who need the most help some of them don't have the internet. Most of them don't use Facebook. And a couple of times I had to talk people on the phone through how to use email. So for me, there's a massive vulnerable group out there that no matter how hard we try, we're not going to touch unless there's some communication that's not web-based. Just like your feelings on that, really.
Community groups help that, don't they? I mean, the more social activity we've got involving various groups, the easier it is to get messages across. Aside from that, yes, we can leaflet, yes, we can post it. I was told one of the best ways to do it is through prescription bags, but that's even that may not currently apply, because I don't know how people get the medicine delivered. It varies again, doesn't it? But you're right, Shem, it's not just about social media. The thing about social media, you hope that you get very current messages out very quickly, and you hope that families share that information with people who need it.
They drop
I
very
know it's
quickly.
not a cure-all.
They drop very quickly down. I mean, so
they do. You've got to refresh
10 minutes after
you've got to refresh very, very quickly.
Plenty of item.
Yeah.
But we've had Margaret. We've had this theme really. We had our first newsletter. Was it our first?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. First newsletter went out to every household in Penguin.
Yeah.
This month, just outlining stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking that through DVSC and perhaps the AONB, they could piggyback on our newsletter. Yeah. In terms of selling their services and kind of advertising what they're doing at the moment. Yeah.
I think Nature for Health was included. I think the calendar was included with that newsletter. But while you were, talking earlier, I was thinking about, and I've put in the chat there, when we need to have a number of responses So first of all, you need to have this information available in places where people go to. Yeah. Medical centres, community centres, the food share. Where and where we've got provision like food share, Penguin Community Centre and so on, the people in there knowing and signposting, which they do, very, very good at, you know, identifying people just from a conversation, and signposting them to additional help. And that's why the face-to-face support will never go away. Newsletters, I'm loving that idea that you've just come up with there, Graham, that we can put our leaflets in prescription bags.
Speak to the pharmacist.
I'll be down to the chemist tomorrow.
It was put out as an idea of me years ago.
Yeah.
They said it's a good way to get out to people. It's a good idea.
We said, but I'm thinking here, Becky, whether with Nature for Health we can't make one of our monthly walking groups a walk round your estate and take notice and pop a letter through, you know, a leaflet through a letterbox or something. Because one of the hardest things with letterbox drops is the amount of time it takes to leaflet. And again, this is where people think volunteering involves a commitment every week to do something. Doesn't necessarily be. You could volunteer that while you're out walking your dog, once a month you will post the Chitterslow newsletter or the Penguin newsletter or something. So now that COVID is behind us, I kind of feel, and Gareth and I started to talk about this a while ago, a big event down with the bandstand and the silver band in the park, a very coordinated, planned, let's not rush into it, all come together and tell everybody what's available in Llangollen.
About before COVID, the council and the Chitterslow group had a Chitterslow Sunday, where we invited all the organisations that did stuff, organisations like yourselves, but also the Eisteddfod were there. I know the food share were there. Just telling people what they did, and also looking at people to volunteer and join their group. Because the cry that I hear all the time is volunteers.
We've got a couple of hands up. Becky wants to come in, I think.
Becky, sorry.
Somebody else's hand up as well.
Steph's.
Come to you in a minute, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I am working with the ladies from Denbighshire Housing to try and target those that really need some support or you know, really need that maybe a bit of a helping hand. Just based on what you said about your online stuff, and I'm very aware of that, because throughout the whole pandemic, all I did with my last post was ring people up and ask them every day how they were, because none of them people were online. And I know exactly what you mean in that there needs to be something else. So I am trying to get in different booklets, local booklets in the little villages. The Friends of the AOB have just done me a write-up, which hopefully will be out next month. And I have contemplated doing your Chitterslow booklet, but we haven't yet got that link from the website to Nature for Health. So that's why I've not done that yet. But yeah, I think that's a really good point that you said about, you know, and I've also thought about, you know, the food boxes from, yes, the food share ones, but also the veg shop in Llan. I still get my veg from them, and I have done throughout. So that's also another way of possibly getting leaflets out to those that are still shielding or feeling, you know. I'll shush now. Stephanie, sorry.
Stephanie, need to unmute.
Hello. I'm trying to remember the things. I'm trying to remember the things in my head that I want to say. Fix a few things have popped up. I think when we're talking about people, that there's people hidden who we need to access. We've definitely come across that with food share, and some people have fallen out of general society and hide away. And when they've developed mental health problems, they put up a huge barrier, and they're the people that really need the help. And sometimes if they've got mental health problems, they'll come across as being rude, or they won't come when they say they're going to come. And then so they get disengaged. So like with housing or different services, if they book an appointment and then don't come, they get sort of struck off. And then, but the problem doesn't go away. They just get worse and worse. Anyhow, that's one thing. And we've always tried to, being aware, like Becky said about Facebook's, we can't get to everybody on Facebook, so we've worked really hard trying to think who else. So putting out to our on our leaflet or on our Facebook, look after your neighbours. Are there any neighbours who might need, or people who can't access? And putting out leaflets in the library, at the health centre, they've got a screen up, so we sent through a flyer because they can't have paper flyers. So Angela's put that up on the screen as well for when people go in there. And we had a price, thank you Gareth, about the Vistaprint for printing flyers, which is really surprisingly reasonable, like £40 or something for thousands. And one of our volunteers had suggested that we've got lots of people who we give food parcels to who sort of are taking, and they feel guilty that they're not giving back. They're always saying, is there anything that we can do? Is there anything that we can do? And so someone suggested, well, we could ask them to drop leaflets. So that's on our, not top of priority list, but it's on our agenda that we can do that. But I know Graham said about the prescription mag, which I don't know about. So that's something we can look into as well to get it out there to people. And also, Jess from SDCP mentioned about an event at the Wild Pheasant. So I phoned the Wild Pheasant, and so that's, is it Health? Margaret will probably know, Health and Wellbeing event. I think it's through, well, I know it's through DVSC with a lady called Sherry. So I've invited us Food Share to that. And she's also said if there's anyone else that I can think of locally that might support them, I can let them know as well. So she's sent me some flyers. And we up in our window, so Nature for Health we put up in our window and other things. So we're always trying to build up links with other services so we can signpost, because we've got lots of people who are just drowning in mental health and terrible problems.
Yeah, I just first it's just coming to my mind. If you're doing leaflets and stuff, through places like Vistaprint, if you ask them to do a newsletter, the price gets inflated. If you do your newsletter and then turn it into a JPEG, it's just like a poster.
Okay.
And that is a lot cheaper. Well, in my experience.
Okay.
It's kind of the hidden people we're talking about.
Yeah.
During COVID, I did some coordination of the support group, and there were a lot of people to begin with in the first lockdown, and then that kind of fell down a little bit in the middle, and then picked up again. And there were people out there who were asking for help, and when you talk to them on the phone, nothing had really changed for them except the fear of getting COVID, because they were on their own. Some people whose families lived in London and they were up here, and all of those kind of things. But I think what COVID did was it gave them permission to ask for support. And now that permission's gone, so they're kind of harder to reach.
I'm not sure I'd say the permission's gone, Chair. I know what you mean, because I was chairing the Aging Well group in Denbighshire at the time, and having a conversation then about rebuilding communities. We were doing stuff in communities that communities used to do for themselves, and then during COVID, communities started to do it for themselves again. And I think there's a danger that it will drift away, but I think people are still perhaps more open to support and offers now than they were before COVID. But we've got to stop that sliding. Because
there is a buddy system, isn't there? Is there a buddy system?
And that's what I was just going to say. So there's a group in Llangollen called Amest and Befriending. who we've been working with, and help them get like they did a 4,000 leaflet postal campaign. Yeah. That they actually posted it to everybody's address. Got very poor response, unfortunately, but it was a questionnaire, it was a consultation questionnaire, and I'm not sure people always want to respond to those. But I'm just wondering now, and you know, throwing it out there. So before COVID, when we first started doing our research and talking to people and trying to understand what was the situation and where we could bring any value, it was always felt that there's enormous amount of groups, but we're all quite fragmented. Work since COVID has brought organisations like, you know, Food Share, CAD, STCP, AOMB, housing closer together and working closer. But I just wonder whether now there isn't a need for us to try and formalise that more. We've got Chitterslow, I know, but, and then the other thing I was just thinking is part of that could be a communications plan. Yeah. So instead of 5 organisations all trying to deliver a newsletter, you know, and I don't know if Chitterslow is the right vehicle, and I apologise for my ignorance on that. You know, I don't know if Chitterslow is the right vehicle, or whether there's someone in Clan we should be talking to have that conversation.
Chitterslow in Flan is kind of we've set ourselves up. We are different to most other Chitterslow towns in that most of the Chitterslow towns around the planet are town councils, and what
I don't know if you can still really hear us, Shem, but you've frozen. We've lost you. Graham, you're muted as well.
Yeah, I think Gareth wanted to say anything before we lose this completely.
Yeah, because Gareth had his hand up, didn't he?
Well, Chem's going to get back
in. It's just touching on what you're saying, Margaret. We've actually got, shall I say, in the bank, a mail out with Royal Mail.
Right.
But Sheikh Llangollen sent those postcards we had, 1,456, to the distribution centre in Warrington, and they lost them. So we've never had that mail out.
Right.
It cost us the cost printing £30 and £90 delivery, which they haven't offered us back, but they've offered us another free mail out.
Oh, good.
So,
yeah.
So I got blanked out on my.
I'm just explaining, Councillor Chemnay, that we've got this in the bank free mail out following the mess up with Sheikh Llangollen. So if as he's saying, we could collate something, a master sheet, as it were, or a calendar for the next 6 months or something, we could use that mail out, and hopefully they wouldn't lose this lot.
A town, some kind of town event or calendar we've talked about forever, and I'm guessing it would have happened had COVID not hit, because we were just kind of kicking off at that point. I was saying about Chitterslow, other countries, it's the Chitterslow organisation, a bit like ours, is a council organisation, but then they run all of the services that we're talking about now. Particularly the environmental ones, and you know, sort of health, well-being, you know, the environment and everything. But it's the Chitterslow group that delivers it. Because of the diversity of groups in Llangollen, about 3 years ago, and had COVID not hit, hopefully we had hoped that Chitterslow would be on everybody's lips. We decided to set up as a umbrella organisation to bring groups together
Mm.
and give, and
Mm.
give groups. And we had some quite successful meetings in the town hall, community cafes, where we just brought together different groups, really diverse groups.
Yeah.
The Fringe Festival and
Yeah.
the AOMB, and
Mm.
there were common themes throughout. And I think we engaged with about 75 groups at one point, and we just had started that. We've got a website which we set up again just before COVID hit, which has got 100 boxes in it, and any organisation can ask for a box, and then they can post their stuff on it, so it becomes a kind of a central point for
Excellent
stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we just started to started to populate that. And if you go on, if you look at Chitterslow, Llangollen, you'll find the site, and there's some organisations. I think the Food Share, I can't think off the top of my head. I know the Food Share has got a box, and other organisations, and then it's up to you to populate it. You get a password, you have to name a person, and then it's up to you what you post. So a central information point for people to meet together and discuss and talk, and kind of mutually support. Organising the kind of meetings you were talking about in terms of, having a meeting to let everybody know what services are out there. So we had organised one of those. So that Chitterslow in Llangollen is about that, really. Being this umbrella. Yeah.
And I think a lot, I don't know about yourselves, but I'm like that now. I'm pulling out the file of everything that I was working on before COVID happened. Yeah. And I'm going, right, pick that up again now. Pick that up again now. Because, for example, we're about to start exploring having a credit union. Yeah. And the conversations we'll have will be about having them, one in Clan, one in Corwin, if Clan wants one, and so on and so forth. So perhaps this is a time, and now that we can do more face-to-face, perhaps if we can aim for a face-to-face meeting for the next Chitterslow meeting, and I think because we've started to attend a couple of public network events now, Graham. There was a big one, wasn't it, that you guys led on, and for the life of me, I can't remember. We hosted it here last Monday.
Oh, that's a similar. That's the similar event that the one that's on the Wild Pheasant, isn't it? You were the first one of that group of events, I think.
Right. Well, we were all saying, as exhibitors, we were all saying how good it is to see each other and reconnect and find out what's going on. They often present an excellent networking opportunity as well, and networkers will come for a day with the hope of reaching the community and the public and themselves, and they know they can network with each other, as opposed to perhaps even just coming to an evening event. That's something extra on top of your day job.
And it's handy for that network. I always look upon it like a spider's web, where everybody has got some connection somewhere with everybody else, and that kind of face-to-face stuff is important. I mean, so I don't know what your email boxes are like, but I struggle with mine, and I'm ashamed that my council one is not so bad, but anything else, I've got a whole probably it took me a year to open up all the ones I've not opened, because there are just so many of them, you can't deal with them all, can you?
So apologies, Shem, I'm being picked up because my car's in the garage, so I'm going to have to log out soon.
It was kind of draw us to to a conclusion anyway, because we've been here now. Have you got anything else you'd like to say, Stephanie?
Yes. How did you read my mind? I wanted to ask: is Becky and Graham, are they going to the event at the Wild Pheasant, or did you know about it?
Not going personally, but we are covered. I don't know who's covering it, but I mean, I might pop in. Depends what I'm doing. But it's a series of events. We have got somebody there. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't recall who's doing it. There's that many of them. Various people are doing various ones, but we are covered there. Yes, certainly.
So
can I just leave you with a thought from me? Yeah. And just because I was in Canada at Christmas with my daughter.
Yeah.
And she lives in a town called Kimberley in British Columbia. And there was a complete community spirit there that destigmatized poverty, destigmatized food poverty. You went to we went shopping. She would go along with most of her friends to the food share before they went to the supermarket. Just simply because that's the way the community is. They let people who need it most use it during the day, and they go every day. They normalize the whole thing in terms of community support. I think if we can get to that level anywhere, or let alone everywhere, that's a big success. Yeah, because you felt destigmatization completely.
We
go on.
So we when we have surplus food, so once everybody who's in poverty has got what they need and we've got extra, then we pop a table out the front and we've got a sign on it. Yes, so people used to walk past. Oh no, I'm all right. I don't need that. No, I'm okay, thanks. I'll save it for someone who needs it. But over time, chatting to people, we've noticed more and more people happy to come up and take it.
Better than throwing it away. And I think that's a good step towards people just considering food banks and food shares. They're not so much of a problem. And people, they say, back off from it, leave it during the day. Later in the day, let's just go and see what's there before we waste that, rather than buy something else. And you can contribute or not. But it was more about the community feel around that attitude. And I think we're a long way from that, but it'd be nice if we got there.
Isn't it interesting the way that this has gone? I mean, so we've had a limited audience, but hopefully people will pick it up on Facebook. We could probably sit here for another half hour, because we've had a really good discussion about a lot of things. From what at first glance could be quite a disparate group of people. So
we're all saving some money to all send them.
And I say thank you, and just pick on something that Becky said about where we live. Yeah, it is beautiful. I lived in Warsaw for 40 years. I moved here 11 years ago. I still pinch myself as I'm driving into Llangollen and think how lucky I am. And we don't need to knock ourselves too hard, because one of the things that attracted us to Llangollen, I'd been coming to Llangollen for many years, one of the things that attracted us was the community. And in comparison to a lot of the urban communities that I've known in my life, this is a community that is supportive of itself, and people do care about each other. And it's a case of building upon that, isn't it? And just thank you guys, because you're at the forefront of doing that.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. See you soon. No doubt.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yes, take care. Bye. See you all. Bye.
Right, that was really interesting. Disaster. So on our internet's really been playing up tonight. Nothing to do with me, because the blue box is still there, and that's not. Mine was all right before, but it's not now. Mine's come back now. Mine came back about 20 minutes ago. Oh, thank you. So that's good. Yeah. Simon Collins joined us, God bless him. But he was babysitting in Manchester, so he only stayed for about 10 minutes. Yeah. Pardon? Say again?